Welcome, everyone, and happy Thursday. It is noon Eastern time here in the booming metropolis known as Ambler, Pennsylvania, just outside of the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Noon Eastern time, Thursday. You know what that means? It's time for Talent Experience Live, the show that covers everything that you need to know in talent acquisition, recruiting, talent management, human resources as a whole, artificial intelligence, and everything in between. And of course, this show is proudly brought to you by the good folks here at Phenom, whose purpose is to help 1 billion find the right work. That's why we host this program every single Thursday, why we have another fantastic podcast, Unusual Attitudes with Cliff Yerkowitz, why we have Industry Week next week. 5 full days, 6 industries, covering everything that you need to know based on your specific needs. So definitely tune into that. And we host a slew of fantastic webinars, have a great blog, and everything in between. All of that works towards our purpose of helping 1 billion find the right work. But the real way that we do that is not through blogs, it's not through podcasts or live streams. It is through our Intelligent Talent Experience platform, which helps candidates find the right fit faster, employees evolve in their current roles and beyond, and recruiters get to achieve next level productivity and efficiency, while managers get to build better teams through data automation and analytics. If any of this interests you at all, run, don't walk to phenom.com to learn more immediately following this program, where I'm sure you'll see a lovely little banner regarding Industry Week next week. Which brings us to our topic today. Today we have Luke Carignan on the program, who is a recurring guest. This is his second time around, and he's going to talk about recruiting at the top of your license. Now, top of your license is typically a healthcare related term. It talks about professionals in the medical industry and really fulfilling the top of their license, working to the best of their abilities. And we're applying that in the healthcare recruiting space, because recruiters need to work at the top of their license as well. So Luke, who shares a ton of fantastic insights, he's a podcast host with Ashra, talks with CHRO leaders in the healthcare space, and so many more lovely people on a regular basis. Definitely check that out. I believe it's the Bo and Luke show. Luke will correct me if I'm wrong there, but definitely check that out. But before you do that, sit down, grab some popcorn, enjoy the conversation that I have with Luke, because it was a good one. Very fun, very upbeat, but at times the healthcare industry does look a little bit doom and gloom when it comes to technology and how hospitals and organizations are staying afloat. So this is a bit of a teaser for Healthcare Day coming up on Industry Week, which I believe is the 30th of July. You won't want to miss that. But all this episode really does is showcase that there is a need for more artificial intelligence, for more technology in the industry in order to stay at the top of your license. So without any further hesitation, here's myself and here's Luke sitting down for another episode of TXL. Welcome to the program, Luke. Excited to have you here. I think this is your second time on TXL, right?
Second time. It's been a while.
Second time.
It's been a while, but I'm back.
I know. And the first time we were supposed to meet, and then I had just a crazy moment in my life where I wasn't able to do TXL for a little while. That's all we'll call it. But it was a great episode. I think it was you and Bo around military hiring and stuff like that. And I'm glad to have you back, because you're a fantastic number one wealth of knowledge, but also great podcaster, if I do say so myself.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. We have fun with it. That's for sure.
Yeah. We do. Anyway, Luke, I mentioned, kind of at the top of the program there in the intro, we have Industry Week coming up. It is July 28th. It kicks off, and actually Wednesday, which would be the 30th, is Healthcare Day. And I know that you work very closely with a number of our HR healthcare clients, as well as prospects. So you're having conversations with these folks all the time. You are in the know. You understand their challenges, what's working, what's not working, how to solve them. I want to start and kick things off super high level. We named this episode Recruiting at the Top of Your License, which we, kind of from our prep call, I learned about a new phrase. So I want to ask you, what does that phrase mean to you in the context of healthcare and hiring today?
Yeah, absolutely. And that phrase is so well known around health systems and in hospitals. Typically, it's always used for nursing, right? Is typically where we're having that phrase pop up. And what that means is, working at the top of your license means, well, if I'm a infusion nurse, right? I want to be there helping infusion patients, not necessarily going to get blankets or cheese crackers or something for everybody else. But there is actually a study done that says nurses only work at the top of their license 28% of the time, which is fascinating to me. And I think it's going to, open a can of worms to a lot of listeners on this, but it also brings up another question of how we can solve the staffing shortage from a different point of view, right? And so we look at different markets around the country. The question that arose from this then was, how bad is the staffing shortage? Now, I'm not saying that one doesn't exist, because I think it does. I think it certainly is amplified in obviously rural markets or folks where there isn't, or places where there isn't that candidate pool. But if we're only working towards the top of our license 28% of the time, is the talent shortage as bad as we think, or is this an operational problem? And when we look at it, I think I think we need both to solve it. Obviously, I think maybe 50% of just doing a little bit better at recruiting and identifying those folks that are already in your ATS, looking at your candidate inventory, right? And then fixing the operational side of things. So to bring it back to your original question, recruiting at the top of your license, that's where that came from. And when we look at what recruiters are doing on a daily basis, we found out, through our work here at Phenom, that recruiters are spending, and this is a crazy stat, 33% of their time just doing search and manual tasks, which is obviously not the top of our license, right? If we did have a recruiter license, that wouldn't be it. That's 1/3 of our day. Think about that in the course of a week. That's all of Monday and half of Tuesday, doing things that aren't going to push your pipeline forward or help the organization hire people. And then at the worst part, it doesn't help the candidates. And it's becoming a candidates market out there, especially in healthcare right now, right? So when I look at this, I want to say, are humans doing what humans should be doing? Let's look at all the tasks that we have going on in anybody's workday. And let's split it up also between what your role is. If you're a sourcer, what does that mean to the organization? How are you sourcing? And are we just doing manual copy and paste search strings where we're looking for people, right? Are we just going through resumes manually, or is it post and pray? I'm convinced, a lot of the health systems I talk to right now, I'll tell you flat out, sourcing isn't even getting done. And they're not, obviously people are proud of it, but they're not ashamed of saying it by any means either, because it's something that we can all improve in. But I think we really need to be, when I say recruit at the top of your license, it all comes back to one thing, and that's being a talent advisor is what we all need to work towards. Because this isn't going to shock you. It's not going to shock any organization or any candidate, but candidates are horrible at applying to the correct job. Absolutely awful at it. And it's not their fault. They go to a site, there's 3,000 jobs. You're a nurse. You're like, all right, well, which one of these 1,200 nursing jobs do I apply to? So they usually revert to, since most of them are time-based, right? Or which ones pop up in their keywords. People are using similar keywords in similar locations. So this means lopsided pipelines. And for all the listeners out there, a lopsided pipeline means one of your recs gets a ton of applications and the other ones get nothing. Right? Which is the world we all live in. We look at what ATSs do today. They're perfectly optimized to decline all but one candidate. And if you have a lopsided pipeline, this is a big problem, because there could have been 50 people in that pipeline that should have been hired into the organization. And then bringing it back to being a talent advisor, how do we encourage and give recruiters the tools to become that talent advisor, to where we flip the script now and we say, okay, I don't care what job you applied to at the organization, and I'm going to assume that you didn't find the perfect one for you. When I look at Devin, how do I become a talent advisor to Devin and say, no, this is a lights out person. He might have applied to the wrong role, but I think he'd align well with this hiring manager. I think he'd fit well in this division. And you know what? Maybe it's even closer to his house and he didn't even see that job posting, right? So when I say working at the top of our license, it's getting rid of all the noise so we can have the time to truly be that talent advisor. That's a
Yeah.
long-winded way of saying that, but
No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, when you talk about the shortage, have heard the conversations about travel nurses, right? And them traveling to all sorts of different parts of the country, whether it be rural, metropolitan, wherever, in order to fill that need to care for patients, right? And hopefully to work at the top of their license. Then you add in this factor of a lopsided pipeline. It makes me think, I think the ideal kind of scenario would be someone signing up for a talent community, right? And then you kind of have them in your CRM, you can filter and they'll be notified when the right position comes along. But candidates are hesitant to do that, right? Because it feels like you're just throwing your resume into a black hole. However, applying that person who may not be ready for a senior manager role or a director role, and saying, hey, you're not quite there, this role looks like it would be perfect for you, and we can build you up to get there, right? Because
that's right.
there are two main reasons that I know of that most candidates apply, right? It is for compensation and it is for that title jump, that career progression. The reason why most candidates apply for a job that they're not quite qualified for is that's what they're aspiring to be. That's their career growth, and you as the organization want to bring them in to get them there, right? At the end of the day.
100%.
So this all makes sense. And when you have the time back, when you get that 33% of time back that you mentioned, you're able to advise them on it and tell stories of someone who started at maybe more of an entry-level nurse position, but have worked their way up into working at the top of their practice, as they say. Luke, I'm going to try and work that in as many times as I can for SEO purposes. But I want to ask you, you mentioned some of the trends there, right? The shortage, lopsided talent pipelines. I want to ask you, what trends or shifts are you seeing in the healthcare industry right now that might be affecting talent acquisition?
Oh, there's so many happening out there right now. First of all, healthcare after the pandemic, right, came out like a bullet out of a gun, absolutely innovating in technology. They're innovating better than some of the tech companies are right now. And when I say that, I mean it from an operational perspective. Usually we look at the technology industry, even finance, things like that they'll embrace emerging technologies a lot quicker. Not the case anymore. Healthcare is really doing it. They're going hard at it. I think the pandemic amplified a lot of the operational issues that they have, and they're evolving. So because that's causing some constraints and compression in the market right now. Namely is that when you have, a region where you have multiple health systems or competition, right, you're going to have folks that are embracing that technology, some that aren't, right? And so now it is like fish in a barrel when you're embracing that technology and your competition is not. Imagine what it's like when you can get back in touch with a candidate within 30 seconds and your competition, it takes 5 days. Right. So even that, just a simple action of getting back and responding to somebody and automating that can be a big gap right in the middle. I also think that the workforce is evolving post-pandemic, right? We're seeing some massive shifts. I talk on my show all the time about work-life harmony, for example, right? I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't think it exists. I don't think we should chase it. And that's because there's only one Devin, right? Mm-hmm. You get work is going to follow you home and home is going to follow work. You can't say, oh, well, I'm just going to balance the two, because sometimes one needs more than the other one does, right? So I think people are embracing that work-life harmony now, and they want different things, whether that might be different shifts, whether they want different flexibility, whether they want to work in a division at a certain point in their life, right? And we have to ask those questions as recruiters, or even capture that data automatically so we can figure that out. So Devin, I know you have small children, right? Mm-hmm. So a 7P to 7A job probably wouldn't be that attractive to you, to not be home for dinner and while they're sleeping and while they're waking up, right? So no. At this point in your journey, you need something where you can be with the kids, be with the family. Now, later on, when you're empty nesters and we're like, okay, I hopefully want to retire one day, maybe we do want to go out and make more money for that. A stat from the Harvard Business Review that just came out recently was 35% of people in the workforce today said they have no goal of career progression whatsoever, which is mind-boggling to me. Now, when I say career progression, I mean getting into leadership is exactly what they were. But they've looked at leaders around them in the past and they say, you know what, I might make less money. I'll have less time with my family. I'll have to deal with other people's problems. And that's just something I don't want any part of. So that can go in different ways now. Now there's less people that are actually getting into leadership, but there's more folks that are in the individual contributor side. So if we look at trends like that, how do we get in front of those people with that messaging? We always hear of meet them where they are, meet the candidate where they are, meet the team member where they are. That's what that means, right? Is meet them where they are today on this part of their journey in life. And I want to wrap this up too. This all comes down to candidate inventory. So I'm going to do a little bit of quiz for you here, specifically in healthcare, because I'm talking about the problems. I'm going to tell you how to solve it. So quiz time. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about direct care RNs only right now. All right. Okay. So I have healthcare benchmark studies in front of me. When an RN is hired, what is the average of time they've been in an ATS when they were hired? And now the number I'm giving you, it takes into account the zero, like, okay, this person just applied and they got hired. So the zero people, how many days on average has a candidate been in the ATS in the United States?
Oh, this is probably low. I was going to say 21.
21 days?
Yeah.
650 days, Devin. 650 days. Your candidates have already been in your ATS for 2 years on average. But the time to source on average is 70 days. It still took us 70 days just to find them, even though they've been there for 2 years. Crazy. 43% of those candidates have been there over 1,000 days.
That's insane.
Isn't that insane? So we look at healthcare, they're there, you know?
This is years. Luke.
Years.
We're talking years at this time.
There is not a candidate shortage. There is not. They have them. And if folks don't believe me, I got a trick for you. All right. We're going to give you some homework here. So go to careeronestop.org, careeronestop.org. And in there, you can look at the workforce availability for any market you have in the United States based out by region. So you can put it in your city, your zip code, whatever you want. And it uses the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it'll tell you the average, or it'll tell you the active employed market for that job in your area. So when you plug that in, if you plug in, you can say how many RNs are in your area in Philadelphia, right? Yeah. And then go look at your ATS. If you have more candidates in your ATS than are actively employed to your market, you have to ask yourself a serious question of what you're doing with advertising at that point. If you're going out to market and spending it on job postings, programmatic, or what it might be. It's just appalling to me that it's 650 days on average when they've been in there.
It's so long. And you think about what you were doing 2 years ago, or 3 years ago in some cases, as you mentioned, it's vastly different. Your skills have changed. Your position has changed. I think of NFL players, the average tenure is 3 years, right? Before they have to find a new job. It's even shorter, I'm sure, for regular citizens and people who aren't paid to play catch in the NFL.
Yes.
It's absolutely wild. One thing I want to call out there is you mentioned harmony, and I love that thought, and I want to stress it because when you think of life, you think of it as a musical, song, right? I see the guitars behind you, and for, I would imagine 95% of the population, you can't turn work off. You can't turn home life off, right? We are connected all times. My cell phone's over here, but it's connected on my watch. I get Slacks at all hours of the day. We have a global company. And that harmony is the base that keeps it all together, right? I will be in the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, Luke, and an idea will pop into my head about work. I'll jot it down for later. I will be in the office and I will forget or remember that I forgot to turn the dishwasher on, right? Like all of these things happen. And it's finding that harmony, as you mentioned, that synergy to what works for you. And it may not be a 7 to 7 job. It may be, 9 to 3, but that doesn't mean you're not going to take a call later in the evening if you have to. The other thing that I wanted to call out was you mentioned healthcare really being shot out of a gun when it comes to AI automation and being kind of tech forward. And I think they've always been that way when it comes to patient care, right? Everyone is always trying to do the best and help patients in the most valuable way that they can. And we saw this when we had conversations 3-4 years ago about AI detecting lung cancer before humans could, right? And running scans and all of this being applied to a physician or a nurse's day to day is going to help them work at the top of their license, like you mentioned. However, when we think about HR, number one, and then the documentation for healthcare, that is typically slower and more intricate, right? Because it's sensitive documentation. I want to ask you, has the mindset kind of shifted a little bit where HR professionals in the healthcare industry are saying, we can't keep up with the Joneses if we are accepting paper resumes. If we have candidates sitting in our ATS for 600 days, we're never going to fill that pipeline up and get the right folks in our organization to work. Are they beginning to make that shift? Is it catching up rapidly, or are some people still stuck with their heels in the ground?
Well, it's almost worse than that right now, right? So when we look at, so yes, some are evolving very quickly, right? Some a little more slowly, which is fine. But now healthcare is being put in a place of uncertainty right now, right? With the bill that just passed and reimbursements coming, there's uncertainty in Medicaid reimbursements is what is happening. 85% of the hospitals in the United States are nonprofit. So it's affecting 9 out of 10 of them, basically, right? And you look at where they can save money, because there's two things that are going to remain constant with all of these changes. One, we're always going to have to take care of people. And two, we're always going to have to hire people to take care of them, right? Then we look at where money is spent in healthcare. So we look at the financial portion and the operation, right? So the American Medical Association will tell you on average, 56% of the health system's expenditure is all payroll. And then you look at the other side, of course, you have facilities, right? Materials, things like that. And like, okay, you're not going to just, good luck trying to cut the cost on facilities and materials. It's not going to happen. So the obvious way is operations and payroll. So now we're being forced in healthcare to really be more efficient and make sure that humans are working to the top of their ability. And what I'm seeing in the market right now is restructuring happening all over the place. Now, I'm not going to call these organizations out, but if you're following the news, there are two in particular that just had layoffs, right? So they were in HR. One was around 1,000 people. One was around 200 people. But what the article didn't say, and I actually talked to both of these CHROs, they repositioned and repurposed every single one of those team members. So even though, yes, they eliminated that position, all of them remained in the health system with roles that were better in line with the operational needs of that organization. So it's happening right now where we're seeing companies be more efficient with their people and get more bang for their buck that way. Another way that I want to jump into is I know you mentioned, how they're embracing technology on the clinical side, right? And they really are. Ambient listening right now for doctors, like scribing all of the notes, using AI so they can go back into patients' notes and history and spend more time making eye contact with you and just instead of just talking over at the computer. And by the way, scribes in the past were a thing. Like I had doctors my whole life where like a doctor would just tail them and follow, someone would tail the doctor in there and they'd be taking notes the whole time. Position is almost gone right now at that point, and you're getting better results from it. So we're being forced to make these changes, right? Yeah, so I think it's I just forgot even what your question was. I was rambling.
It was the
advanced.
No, I loved it because immediately I might date myself here. As soon as you said scribe, this is an old Chappelle Show skit. We might cut this from the final version. But do you remember the at-home stenographer where it was just somebody that followed you around? I'll have to send you the skit
Please
afterwards.
Send it to me.
I know this is an HR program, so I won't get too involved in it. But that's what I imagined as soon as you said the scribe there. But we were talking about kind of the advancements of AI in recruiting, and I think you alluded to it there, where it's getting the right people in the right pace faster. We talked a little bit about it, where it's finding those candidates that are already in your pipeline for the 600 plus days and discovering them all over again. One thing that you mentioned there was that repositioning or reorganization of some of those institutions. I want to ask you, skills is something we talk about here all the time.
Sure.
How much of a role is skills playing within the healthcare industry, allowing organizations to kind of have that flexibility where it's understanding who someone is beyond their job title and what other roles they could be perhaps better suited for.
Oh, skills is everything right now. And when you go look at operational efficiency, it has to be. So I know we started off talking about working at the top of your license, right? Now, I also want to go the other way with it right now, even though like that's not popular, but I'm going to, because in order to solve this operational problem and the uncertainty, we have to. And this goes based on skills. So let me talk about working down your license a little bit. So I was talking with the health system, and radiology techs are ever so important right now. And if there's a listener that doesn't know how important they are, basically, if you can't take images, your health system grinds to a halt. It's that simple. They're offering, I've seen hiring bonuses, sign-on bonuses of upwards of like 40 grand for radiology techs. I know, right? And it's, I won't say it's a simple certification to get, but it's not becoming a nurse or a doctor. Like it's a lot easier than that, so they're that important. So what's happening is from the revenue cycle, if you don't have enough radiology techs right now to take these images, then they're actually telling patients they need to go home and maybe come back Monday or Tuesday. So that could mean worse outcomes for the patient. And it's a delay in the revenue life cycle that we're seeing in healthcare today. Well, I've talked to a health system that's doing something fascinating. They're having the imaging techs work down their license. So they're using skills and they're saying, oh, well, guess what? We noticed from your skills, you can also do ultrasounds. You can also take x-rays. So since you're not just going to be doing MRIs the entire day, we're going to have you bounce around based on the patient and hospital need, and also have scheduling help you out so that you're not, going from floor to floor too much, but your workload's going to increase, but it's going to be on different machines. Lo and behold, this organization discovered they needed 2/3 less radiology techs than the job postings and requisitions that they had open to get to where the company needed to be. This was an operational issue that was all based on skills that we might not necessarily know about, because there's too many people in an organization to do like, what am I going to do? A human inventory in my brain of what everybody's skills are, right? So the ability to use those skills in that particular instance is going to increase their revenue. It's going to increase what they can do. It's going to increase their patient care rates that they have and shrink the time to actually getting better. And the best part is they're actually paying the rad techs more. Mm-hmm. They're saying, we're going to pay you more money to actually go and do this. And if I'm a radiology tech, you come to me and I'm going, you're going to pay me more to do stuff that like I can do with my eyes closed. Like, yes, please. Yeah. So I think that's a specific example of internally how it can work. You look at externally with candidates, being able to inventory those skills and see what else they can do and how else they can contribute to healthcare as a whole. I'll tell you, we've interviewed over 150 CHROs. In the past 5 we've interviewed, and I'm not even kidding. We didn't even like solicit this information. They were all hiring people to their team, and they all said the same exact thing. They said, I'm looking for an operations person that also knows HR. And the puck is going that way right now. And it's fascinating to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what we hire for outside of healthcare, right? It is operations. It is someone who is a sales leader, but also knows human resources, right? It is a sales leader in the medical field that also know that they can talk the talk, right? That they are able to maintain consistency, stay organized within your realm, right? It's no longer a nice to have to be operational. And you talk about those radiology techs, those image takers. That's probably the wrong term, but you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. Is 2/3 was the stat that you said they were able to?
2/3 they didn't need. Yeah.
And even if you do pay them more with a sign-on bonus or something like that, you're probably still more in the black than you would have been previously. And Luke, I'll tell you what, tomorrow, if if someone in our organization comes over to me, if Mahi comes over to me and says, Devin, I need you to change the water coolers, I'm going to pay you more to do it. I'm changing the water coolers, Luke. That's
I'll be great at that.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think? What am I going to the gym for? It's to pick up all this water throughout the day.
It'll be part of our new wellness plan here at Phenom.
Yeah. But I think that we as human beings are, and I'm going to get a little existential here, are constantly craving for dopamine, for change, right? For a little bit of variation in our day. We see it in our social media platforms. We see it in our content. It almost feels like jobs that offer more variety, I want to say, may be the future for
100%.
humans as a whole. Sitting in an MRI booth all day long and taking images all day has to become monotonous, repetitive. It's all the things that we talk about where we want to kind of remove those administrative tasks. Now, you're not going to be able to necessarily do that when it comes to taking these images. But if you can add some variation into some of these folks' day, get them interacting cross-departmentally, you're improving so much. It's super exciting to hear. Am I way off with that?
No, you're not way off. And it's more rewarding too.
Yeah.
You think about it, because like now let's look at these skills that they're gaining on this. Now they're working across multiple departments, right? Now they have different coworkers they're working with, different personalities. Devin, this sounds a lot like leadership and getting into the, you know what I mean? So now you're developing these other skills as you're going through this. And it's absolutely beautiful, you know, and you think we get back to that, like the big number of like 56% of the costs in healthcare is on payroll. Ask yourself, what does it mean to payroll per year to need 200 less radiology techs?
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge number. You're talking about numbers in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah. And to have them happier as well.
And
right?
happier.
And
making more money.
Who has turned that down before? This is an amazing conversation. I love it. But I want to ask you, we obviously know that the ideal candidate experience is not 600 days in an applicant tracking system.
No.
What does it look like, and why are so many organizations still falling short? We're not doing Industry Week Healthcare Day for the fun. Luke, I'm going to tell you right now, it is because we see a need in the industry. What does it look like from the conversations that you're having with these high-level individuals?
Yeah, it just goes back to making it easy. I hear that with all my conversations that I have with healthcare leaders. They say, make it easy for them. Whether you're an entry-level person, an emerging talent, let's say you want to be in environmental services, make it easy, right? If I'm a rheumatologist that I'm looking for, look, rheumatologists aren't throwing darts at ATS applications and filling out all your questions. Like, why would they? Make it easy to have a conversation. Make it easy to find the right job. Make it easy for me to envision what it looks like working in that role. Yeah. Just let me have a conversation and let me do it on my own time. Also, keep me informed as a candidate. This is where AI can really excel, because if we look at keeping candidates informed every step of the way, and Devin, this could mean, okay, I'm coming in for an initial interview. Where do I park? Yeah. What do I wear? What is the vibe that I'm going into, if that's your thing, right? And if we let all of this be done by manual tasks, and I'm handling 50 candidates at a time, I'm dropping the ball on that. There's no way, right? Even if you can have an automation that's simple, like, hey, I see you're like 2 hours before, here's where you park, right? The day before, here's what you're going to wear. 15 minutes before, here's the door you're going to walk into. Let us know if you want any water or something like that. Like, super simple basics and fundamentals. And I'll tell you, I'm going to go off on a rant here, but it's going to be a good one, right? Yeah. Let me tell you the role that AI can and should play in healthcare. And then I'll touch on where it shouldn't and some of the benefits, right? The role it needs to play is doing the basics and fundamentals of a recruitment job perfectly. Period. Basics and fundamentals. At the end of the day, if we look at what recruitment is, it's three things. It's quantity, it's quality, and it's speed. So let's break those down. Quantity, give me all the candidates. Yeah, I want a big pool. I want a big pool of people. Quality, are they qualified? Now, to me, quality has two aspects. Can they do the job? Do they have the skills? And do they even want to talk to me? Because I don't care if you have a million candidates. If they're not talking to you, they don't matter. Now, once you get your quantity and quality figured out, it's all about speed. And if we can solve those basics and fundamentals and take that away from the human, we can then work at the top of our recruited license and do what humans need to do best. But if we're not hitting those basics and fundamentals, it is not only hard to hit our recruiting metrics, it is darn near impossible to see where the bottlenecks are or where the problem actually is. In every sport anybody's ever played, you could probably hear your childhood coach in your ear right now going, we need to get better at the basics and fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And it's so true, yet we don't do it. And on that, we don't practice enough. We don't, because there's no time for training because we're doing manual tasks out there. Huge Jets fan, I see, right? You know,
Of course. Yeah.
NFL teams practice. What do you think? They practice 100 hours for every game that they play, at
Yeah,
least,
let's see. Yeah, easily.
probably ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We don't, in the business world, we just flat out don't do that. We play for 100. We just learn on the field, right?
Mhm.
And we never get good at the basics and fundamentals. AI can do this for us. It can handle that experience for the candidate. It can keep them informed of next steps or what they should be doing right now. It can facilitate a conversation. And then, my gosh, we get into agentic AI and where this is going. All right, here's where healthcare leaders aren't thinking correctly about agentic AI. We're stuck in human scalability. And what I mean by that is Luke and Devin can only screen out one resume and one candidate at a time. If you and I had, let's say, 2,000 resumes and, you know, our leader says, Luke and Devin, call all these people and do a phone screen on them, it would take us, Devin, it would take too long. They'd be out of the job market before we even got there to call them. Like, it'd be bad. So that we're stuck thinking about human scalability as one-to-one, but with a voice screening agent, think about this. AI can call 2,000 people at the exact same time. This is different. Now you can screen out 2,000 people in 10 minutes. You know who's going to respond, who isn't. So I think leaders need to shift their mindset right now into the scalability of agentic AI, because it's not a one-to-one ratio. It's a one-to-many. And that's a game changer for how we can affect those basics and fundamentals.
Well, I've said this multiple times on the program. I think the best application process is no application. And that's controversial coming from a company that was built on career sites. But every job, Luke, that I've ever gotten was because I know somebody that knows somebody, right? And it starts with a friendly conversation. And I imagine with some of this agentic AI, with these agents that are able to have 200 conversations at once, you can attach a story or a person to a resume, right? So many, the reason why I think ATS systems have gotten so clunky and why it's different than dropping off your resume like you did at the local restaurant when you were 15, 16, 17 years old is because there's no personality behind it, right? You're filling out the check boxes, which are important, especially in healthcare. You need people that are licensed. You need people that are certified for specific needs within the organization. However, you could be doing yourself a huge disservice if you have a graduating med school student who is getting their RN license in May and they don't check that they're licensed already, right? Versus if they upload that resume, they have a conversation with an agent via phone call and says, hey, I'm graduating in May. I love Temple University. I graduated from Temple. I can't wait to go there. All of a sudden, that's a brand new hire for you, right? That you would have disqualified previously because of a checkbox. And getting that context, having those human conversations with machines, although sounds scary and sounds terrifying, as long as the machines at the end of the day aren't making the decisions, they're just adding context. They're adding all of this valuable information to the person behind the resume, which is actually who you're hiring, not the resume itself. Does that make sense?
100%. And I mean, you're touching on something important is AI also has the concept of time now.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at like what the CRM does, it's incredible. And like, here's a real life example, right? So new grad nurses, I'll touch on that. Mm-hmm. They all, look, this isn't controversial, but the majority, not all of them, love working in labor and delivery. And I get it. Like the babies are awesome. If I were in nursing, that's probably where I'd go to. It'd be amazing. Kids are the best. Mm-hmm. There are not enough jobs in L&D available for the influx of resumes that come in for that. 5 years later, that person probably never got a job in labor and delivery. And guess what? They're also not a new grad nurse. So we talked about that candidate inventory at the beginning. ATSs don't have a concept of time. You are frozen in time as a new grad nurse. So 5 years later, if you're doing automated campaigns or text messaging, you're emailing, you're advertising jobs for new grad nurse to someone with 5 years experience that probably never got a job in L&D to begin with. So this is why, and listeners, this is why you get emails for jobs you're woefully overqualified for, is because you're frozen in time in somebody's system. And now that AI has the concept of time, it can go, Oh, okay. Well, unless this nurse went and took 3 years off and went and surfed in Fiji or something, which I hope they did, they
Yes.
should have 5 years of experience and they might be a good fit for this role now. And by the way, and then here's where it gets even crazier based on the career trajectory, they probably have these skills now since they've been in the job market for 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, this is where it gets cool because you look at the amount of resumes or the amount of candidate inventory you have. If you can dial that down and bring those historical records back in with context, now that's basics and fundamentals getting done. Now we can have good conversations. This is where AI is really making it possible to be that talent advisor.
Yeah. Imagine how much you could stand out, right? If you follow up with a candidate 5 years down the line and you admit it, right? As well. It's like, hey, long time no talk. We've
amazing
updated some technology. We found you in our system. We wanted to see what you're up to, right? And then that's it. That's a conversation. I compare it to Gmail, where it sends me a reminder of, hey, you haven't responded to this email in 5 days. Do you want to follow up? It's like, thank you. I had forgotten about that person. I owe them whatever I was supposed to do. I hate email, Luke. I'm going to let you know. But
yeah, it's all good.
It's not fast enough for me. But nonetheless, those sort of things are super exciting. And I think they can change talent acquisition, not just for healthcare, but everywhere in the next few years. And I hope everyone gets to work in labor and delivery. It's awesome because I have stories about my experience and they were wonderful, but it doesn't happen for everybody. I wanted to be a professional football player, Luke. I probably could have played for the Jets a couple years ago, but not right now. I think
you're pretty fast.
I know that you mentioned they practice 100 hours. The Jets practice 90, which is why they are.
Do they really?
Yeah. No, I have no idea. It's why they're not good. But
that's
nonetheless, this is all exciting stuff, and we talk about it very abstractly. But I don't think it's stuff of the future. This isn't Star Wars or Star Trek anymore. This is happening. Some organizations are going to do it and some aren't. And the ones that do it are going to succeed. I want to kind of circle things back as we're kind of coming up on time here. Obviously, we've talked about the healthcare industry and some of the challenges, one of which is high turnover. We've been really referring to external candidates throughout this entire program. How can some of this technology maybe help those individuals within the organization? You talked about the image, the radiologists, the folks taking the images, and how you're able to reskill them. That's just one small part. Do we think this can be expanded across entire hospitals and across entire health service systems?
Oh, 100%. When you look at like the career mobility, right? When you look at why people leave jobs, I mean, you'll get a million answers for this, right? Some of the most common that you'll hear, like, well, people quit leaders, they don't quit organizations, right? It's usually that, or there was no chance for career advancement. And this is where healthcare actually gets a little bit tricky. I'll go back to the NFL example, and I'm not going to be talking about, I'm going to leave physicians and really high level clinicians out of this conversation, because to me, it's almost the same as being an NFL player, right? If you're going to be a physician, you knew you were going to do that for 15 years and it took that long and you spent $1 million to do it. So you're not like career progression. We'll leave that off to the side.
Yeah.
Everybody else comes in and it's like a city that you work for. These health systems today, they have their own linen plants. They have transportation companies, facilities companies, helicopters. Like we all see, like literally you can do whatever you want. They in my city, they own the gyms. So like if you go to the gym, it's owned by the health system. So like literally you can be a personal trainer, a lifeguard, doesn't matter. And the career progression at hospital systems is wild. So Bob Riney, this guy's the CEO of Henry Ford Health System out in Detroit. He's been there 40 years. You know what his first job was, Devin?
Front desk. I'm going to guess.
Front desk security guard.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So show me, and the point of that story is show me the career path from front desk security guard to CEO.
Yeah.
It's wild. It doesn't exist, but that's a beautiful thing about healthcare is they bounce around. It is literally a little city where you can join as part of the emerging talent in your generation and work in dietary. You could work in the kitchen and be CEO one day. You could be in IT. You could be heck in HR, right?
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of us didn't just start in HR, right? It kind of pulls us in because it's something we were interested in. And this is where, when we look at the retention, right? Career pathing and being able to allow your talent to choose their own journey and then find mentors, find courses that they want to take and just dabble in life as to what they're interested in. Because I don't think this will be controversial to the listeners, but I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 23. And I don't think any of you did either. Right. So I had no clue.
I mean, so many people I ask typically, like, how did you get in HR? And they're like, oh, I fell into it. Some people, Luke, some people say that they always wanted to be in HR, and those people are liars.
Yeah, they're liars. They're liars.
I'm kidding. And of course, there are some, but you're absolutely right. I mean, to hear that story of the CEO who started as front desk security, that path had to be so windy and go through so many different departments in order for it to happen. And when we talk about the example that you shared previously, where in order to upskill an individual or to have them maybe do something else, sometimes all it takes is a little bit more compensation or perhaps a change of leader or wherever it may be. And you can lock somebody in for 3-4 more years, right? Before that stale conversation happens. And then it's time to recalibrate, right? Life happens. You become a parent, you do whatever you may do. And your role has to change, but you have to have those conversations as a whole.
Well, you do. And you also have to give them the tools. You have to give the workforce the tools to be able to do it themselves in their own little bubble. Yeah. And here's why, because all right, in a perfect world, you go to your boss and say, hey, well, I'm interested in working in this division in HR, wherever it might be. Right. That's not cool in most jobs that you have with your boss. Cause then all right, first of all, that takes courage and bravery to go do that. You're already young and you're not going to like that confrontation to do so. You're probably worried that your boss is going to be like, what? You don't like it here? That might honestly be the reaction that you're going to get. So when you have a technology bubble you can be in to choose your own path, maybe take courses on your own time or find a mentor that's not where it's not like an official thing where you have to go tell your boss that you might be interested in leaving your position, which people just sit there and you know what they do? They go and they work for other companies rather than have that conversation with their boss. So this is another area where technology and AI can facilitate that bubble of privacy to where you can explore those things and not have to worry if the time isn't right to have those conversations yet, which I think most of the time you're not going to have that conversation until you're ready.
No, absolutely right. And it is intimidating, right? I've had that conversation. I switched from sales to marketing. It didn't make everyone happy. It worked out eventually, but it's a tough task to have. And I wouldn't. What
you don't like it here, Devin?
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. Exactly. No, I love it here. I want to stay, but I can't do any more cold calls, Luke. That's what's happening. I want to ask you, if you could wave a magic wand, if you could choose your own path, keeping this mystical theme going, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about healthcare recruiting today, what would it be?
I get rid of all the manual tasks. 100%. Right. And that would allow for people to do things. And I'm going to bring this back in. I believe the future of healthcare recruiting is sourcing. I think the sourcers should be the highest compensated people on any talent acquisition team. I think that it should be flipped. I think the entry level should be coordinator. I think the mid-level should be recruiter, where you're working with the hiring managers. And I think the highest paid person that works the hardest is the sourcer, because they're the ones feeding that funnel. If that funnel isn't there with qualified candidates and it's not cranking through everybody all the time, what in the world are the coordinators and the recruiters going to do?
Hey, you raise an excellent point because outside of the organization, that's pretty much how the pay structure works, right? If you think about staffing
Yes.
agency, it's the people that find the talent that get the fees, right? It's not.
Yes.
It's so those sorcerers are sorcerers. I promise that's the last pun.
They are sorcerers.
They are. But I love that hot take. Last question for you before we jump into Healthcare Day. What do you think recruiting at the top of your license looks like 5 years from now?
Oh, 5 years from now, the job in TA is going to be absolutely unrecognizable, especially in healthcare. There are going to be different roles. I'm convinced right now that a lot of organizations sourcing flat out isn't even getting done because we just don't have the time to do it. I think almost everything with the basics and fundamentals is going to be automated. I think most of the outreach that we have that is manual today is going to be automated. And I do think you'll have a lot more sourcers than you do recruiters or coordinators. I don't think we'll reduce headcount in any division in healthcare. I don't think it's that type of industry. It's an industry of compassion. I think people will stay there. I don't see them adding a ton of headcount as they grow. There's a lot of consolidation growing. And let's say they grow from 40,000 to 50,000 employees. I think you're going to see the same small, mighty team handling that workload in a more meaningful and more efficient way that connects with the candidate better. And I think that that's something with the uncertainty out there that the finance and operations side of the organizations will get behind as well. And then just one more shout out, just because I know there is a lot of change and uncertainty with AI coming into healthcare, especially at the leadership level. But ask yourself this question if you're a leader, okay? If you embrace AI or don't, think of it, I like to think of it as a wave. It's coming, right? And you can either get swallowed up by the wave or you can surf it, right? Yep. And ask yourself this question: what do you compensate a talent leader that can harness AI and do with 10 people what a team of 100 can? We don't know what that is. When you think about career advancement and how this goes, what in the world do you compensate that person? Because that doesn't exist right now.
It's uncharted territories, and I think it is going to reshape all industries, not just healthcare. I completely agree with you that even if the care and patient services that are offered and grow because there are more people that need care or whatever, we're going to look at talent acquisition teams and HR teams, and they're going to be small and mighty because they're already doing more than they probably should, right? More than they're 100%. Able to. If organizations don't have time to source, that means they are bogged down with all sorts of other tasks. So if you can flip that switch, leverage AI to source, to assist with that, you're only going to be able to grow more and become a more lean, more efficient team rather than constantly having cogs in the wheel do remedial tasks, right?
100%. They're going to be talent advisors in 5 years.
Yeah.
They're going to actually be having conversations. They're going to know people in the organization. And I'm going to be able to say, Devin, you applied to the wrong job and that's totally cool. I got the perfect job for you. You're going to love this. And here's why. And the AI is going to connect all the dots for me to be able to facilitate that conversation. And it's going to get to a point where we're not working. And here's where I think is actually going in 5 years. We're not going to be working requisitions anymore. We're going to be working pipelines where we're going to say this pipeline fits these 30 jobs that I have. Mm-hmm. Now, how do I match this candidate to these 30 jobs? We're doing it the opposite right now, where we just have all these recs with different pipelines in it. And we're trying to match the job to the people that came in there. It's just, it's wonky. So I think it'll be in reverse, and AI and data is going to facilitate that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I was going to say, when do you think we'll see the first talent advisor job title posting out on the web? But it may never exist, right? Because if you flip that pipeline, if you're able to fill up 50 water balloons with that funny little thing that you put on the nozzle at once, that's going to make you a more successful industry rather than filling them all one at a time.
Isn't that the truth?
Awesome.
Yes.
Last little bit, Luke, because we have to pay the bills around these parts.
Have to.
This is the house that the Intelligent Talent Experience Marketplace built that I sit in right now. As we gear up for Healthcare Day next week as a part of Industry Week, what is one message that you would send to TA leaders in the healthcare space to attend?
Yeah, I would say attend, come in with an open mind, be ready to see some mind blowing stuff with agentic AI that's coming down the pipeline. I really believe that's why I'm here, is that Phenom is setting the tone for this and looking out into the future. And I've been here 6 years, and our development team still blows my mind with the stuff they come out with agentic tools and items like that. So I'd come with an open mind. I'd start trying to think like a talent advisor and just soak it all in. And if anybody wants to reach out, we have over 100 clients in healthcare today that I'd be happy to just kind of play my own talent advisor and match you up with a buddy out there that might be further along on the journey than you. So please take me up on that if you want to, and I'd be happy to make that that connection for you, because at the end of the day, you don't have to take my word for it. I'll get you a buddy that's already done it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. I appreciate the time. We have to have you on shorter than 4 years. I think it's been too long. I went out, I got a college degree, and now I'm back. We're going to do this again real soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it. But I enjoy your time as always. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Devin.
Thanks so much, Luke, for taking the time to chat. Always a fun conversation. Who would have thought Chappelle's show would have been worked into this week of TXL? I would have, because I said it and I run the show. Just kidding. It was a fantastic episode. I hope that all of you in the healthcare-related industries found some useful information, and all of you are heading over to phenom.com to register for Industry Week next week. Well, we'll hear from titans in the industry like Chop, like Baylor, Scott and White, and so many more great stories, along with the technology that helps them achieve some of the greatness and help change lives throughout their professional careers. So next week is Industry Week. There will be no TXL. I know that's crazy, because we like to say around here, it happens every damn Thursday. But Industry Week takes precedence. Don't worry. After that week off, we will be back for another episode of fantastic insights and fun. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a safe, happy, and healthy weekend. This episode of TXL is brought to you by coffee. Just kidding. Have a safe, happy, and healthy weekend, and we can't wait to see you in 2 weeks. But first, register for Industry Day. Thanks so much.